Welcome back to Words of Paradise. I'm your host, Leon Idle, and for those of you that are unawares, the completely awful, disgusting, despicable company Blizzard was trying to be purchased by an even worse, even more awful, even more despicable company, Microsoft. But it looks like that may not actually happen. Now, Microsoft won't be able to buy Blizzard, Activision Blizzard, my apologies. The European Commission has objected to Microsoft's buyout of the Activision Blizzard, setting another roadblock in the purchase. Full disclosure, I've very recently gotten into World of Warcraft. Within the last 2 months, right before the Dragonflight expansion came out, I had a buddy really wanted me to play, and I figured, you know what, I've got time. I can go ahead and sink some time into this, and let me tell you, it's been a blast. I've been enjoying it. I've been just playing in WoW pretty much every night since I got into it the last 2 months. So I don't know if this is good or bad. This is something I've only recently started to follow because I've only recently gotten into World of Warcraft. I was never much of an Overwatch guy or really anything else Blizzard did. I liked Diablo 2 way back in the day, and that was about it. But let's go through here, see what we can learn, and, maybe this is a good thing. Who's to say? Following a lawsuit by gamers over monopolizing the gaming market, Microsoft has hit another roadblock in its attempt to buy Activision Blizzard, ABK, for nearly $70 billion. That's a pretty big price tag. I mean, maybe that's... I guess since I don't know Blizzard's worth, all I remember is how much of a hit they've been taking the last several years between bending the knee to China and all their sexual assault allegations. I guess I just didn't expect them to be worth that much. Despite the company's tactics to offer and ensure an ongoing support of Activision Blizzard titles to competitive platforms, it would seem that Microsoft hasn't won the favor of the European Commission, which is preparing to state its objection to Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard. According to Destructoid, Microsoft still has to win the favor of several regulatory bodies to complete the purchase. However, it would seem that a number of regulatory bodies in favor of said acquisition is dwindling day by day. Reports suggest the European Commission is drafting a charge sheet detailing how Microsoft is breaking antitrust laws. Okay, to be fair though, how is Microsoft breaking antitrust laws and Disney hasn't with all of their recent purchases and buying everything under the sun? I mean, recent is relative, but you get what I mean. Don't get me wrong, I don't like monopolies. I don't want big companies buying other big companies and basically giving no competition. I don't get why Disney is safe from this, but Microsoft isn't. Maybe Bill Gates just doesn't have as much pull as we thought. That, or he's too busy trying to get the world to eat bugs and fake meat than care about things like orcs and dragons. This report is likely going to be issued as an antitrust warning to Microsoft as a means of preventing the deal from going forward in its current form. A representative from Microsoft has stated that the company is doing everything in its power to address any marketplace concerns with the regulatory bodies and that the company's goal is to bring better quality games to more people, with the deal furthering that goal. Okay, we all know that's not true. The goal is to make money, because that's the point. That's what these goals are always about, making more money. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with making money, but be honest about it. Don't sit there and be like, look, we only want to buy this company to help people. That's not your goal. Admittedly, the initial reasons for the acquisition, at least according to the official sources, is beneficial to both Microsoft and Activision Blizzard, as both have resources the other one lacks. And it's hard to imagine that Microsoft lacks any resources, but the company has lacked creativity when it comes to gaming lately, so by acquiring Activision Blizzard, it's actually acquiring the company's talent. Additionally, it's also acquiring the company's IP. So yeah, that's the important part. That's what matters. Most of which are multi-platform releases, bringing it in direct conflict with its competitors such as Sony. For example, any game that ABK would develop for the upcoming Sony consoles would require a dev kit, and Sony would deliver said dev kits, early versions of gaming consoles, directly to Microsoft. Ooh, I can see how that would be an issue. I mean, imagine Sony and Microsoft out there competing PS5 versus Xbox, or I guess in this case the upcoming PS6 versus Xbox 7240 or whatever stupid number scheme they're going to give it, and the Xbox is like, oh, the PS6 is doing this? Yo, guys, jot some notes down. We're stealing this. They're going to straight up pull some Yuji Naka stuff. So it's easy to imagine why Sony would object to this deal, despite legal constraints that the company could place on its own hardware, preventing Microsoft from tampering. The other point of contention is the fact that Microsoft can make Activision Blizzard's release Xbox exclusives, assuming that the company acquires ABK. I mean, that's what they're probably going to do to Fallout, so yeah, why wouldn't they do it to everything else? This would devoid Sony and other Microsoft competitors of massively popular titles such as Call of Duty or Diablo, whose fourth installment finally has a release date. Admittedly, the latter argument is a bit ridiculous. By constricting Activision Blizzard's releases to its own consoles, Microsoft would actually be losing money in both the short and long run, and we can't seem to remember Microsoft saying no to Sony's attempt to enter the PC market with its own titles. In fact, if Microsoft acquires ABK as a sibling entity to Xbox Game Studios, it would still be bigger than Sony in terms of gaming development. Yeah, to be fair, I think Microsoft and Sony have worked together in like cross-platform gaming before, at least much more so than Nintendo, for example. So maybe their rivalry isn't as strong as I'm making it out to be. As for Activision Blizzard, the company has struggled financially following the massive controversies and lawsuits. Here it is. Here's the stuff that I know about. Activision Blizzard bending the knee to China while bending women over even though they don't want to be bent over, because that's what Activision Blizzard is all about. Let's get into this. Which reflected upon its releases and active development. So the only thing the company is looking to get out of this deal is access to Microsoft's expertise in machine learning and data analytics, which would increase ABK's competitiveness in the current gaming market. So despite the increasing number of roadblocks, it's hard to see any of the involved parties backing out of this deal. Along with the EU Commission preparing to state its objections to the deal, Microsoft will have to deal with the United States Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, which is also against the tech giant's acquisition. Man, talk about a war on two fronts. Is Microsoft, the Nazis here? America and the Europeans are all coming in on both sides, just ready to just beat them down? The lawsuit's scheduled to go to trial this summer, while Microsoft and Activision Blizzard still wait on the UK's Competition and Market Authority, CMA. So many initialisms here. By the way, I was going to say acronyms, not acronyms. Acronyms are only when they spell out a word. Otherwise, it's initialism. Fun fact, you learned something. You learned something from Papa Leon today. To decide the verdict regarding the acquisition. Well, looks like that's the end of that. Kind of short and sweet. I didn't really want to just bombard you with something bombastic and off the wall. It's still early. It's still the middle of the week, hump day, and I figured we'd get off to something simple. Plus, with me getting into World of Warcraft as of late, I kind of just want an excuse to cover Blizzard in a possibly positive light since I've spent so many years absolutely dunking on them. I mean, literally, I really can't think of anything positive to say about that company up until recently, aside from I liked Diablo 2 back in the day. Didn't even think Diablo 3 was all that great. Like, it was fine, but it wasn't near as memorable. Maybe that's nostalgia talking, but either way, it seems that we are in for a blizzard of lawsuits, and I cannot wait to keep covering them and seeing where this goes. I'm not a Microsoft guy. I'm a Nintendo diehard, and then if I had to choose between Microsoft and Sony, I'm going Sony. So I really don't have a dog in this fight, or a dragon in this flight. But that being said, what do you guys have to say? Let me know in the comments below, or let me know on Twitter at BoltTheWord. And by all means, check out some of my previous videos for more news in the nerdosphere. I've got coverage from Gwen Stefani being called racist, spoiler alert, she's not, as well as the Johnny Depp Amber Heard saga with some interesting new developments with NBC turning on Amber Heard, absolutely hilarious, as well as other interesting nerdy topics such as the boycott of the new Dungeons & Dragons movie because of all the OGL shenanigans. All that and more, find it here in the nerdosphere. But until then, please subscribe, because this has been Words of Paradise.